Welcome back to the Social Seller Podcast with Conor Paulsen, where we interview the world's highest quality communicators, professionals, business owners, creatives, and everything in between. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you're a high quality communicator, there's a good chance you're living a lot happier life, but you're also bringing those opportunities into your life almost like a magnet. My guarantee is that on this show, we only interview people that I, one, look up to, and two, that I know are going to continue to kill the game for years to come, and I want to make sure they're on your radar. But what I've learned is by asking the best questions, we get the best responses, and that's what the highest quality communicators, our social sellers, are all about. Let's hop inside to the Social Seller Podcast. Welcome back to the Social Seller Podcast. We have to hop right in. We have a special guest. We have a former athlete, not only a really good friend, Jordan Canzeri, a former Hawkeye. Now, you were the first person from your hometown to play at a Division I college, especially a Big Ten school. Mm-hmm. Not only did you go in and they told you you're not going to be playing for a while if you even play, but you see the field freshman year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, you go on to later get to do work with the Kansas City Chiefs. You were at camp, you broke your hand, and then when you go talk with the LA Rams, the doctor didn't clear the hand. And that put you in a position where then you went and played pro ball in Japan, and there's only like four Americans or two American athletes per Japan.
Per side of the field, but four total.
Four total. Yep. So you get to go to Japan, and we're going to hop into that story because that's just wild in general. I have not been to Japan yet. And you and me met bartending, and really where our friendship blossomed in Dalton Shaw and just the Bardot days, right? Goddamn, were they fun. And you're a business owner, a brand owner, and you are giving back, and you've always given back since I've known you in the last, at least 5 to 6 years, to the community, regardless of where you're at. You grew up in rural Upper New York, correct?
Yeah, like right outside of the city, and so grew up with 5 acres and a pond and everything. So, a lot of people don't know that. They think I'm just straight up city boy, but I got a little outdoors in me.
I love it. No, we're going to have fun. Thank you for being here, man. And thanks for coming into San Diego, flying in.
Oh, I love it. I love it out here.
I love it. And it was fun because the first ever bowl game that I've been to was the first year I moved to San Diego, and you showed me a text. You're like, hey, let's do it. And it was at Qualcomm Stadium. I didn't know the difference, but that was the last game. We played USC. We were in town. We went to the game, first bowl game. Not only are you a celebrity in the Iowa community, right? And for friends out here, I just try to remind them that there's a lot of states in the country that don't have professional teams, like professional basketball, professional football. And so when that does, when that's not there, you start to fall in love even more with what you do have, and you almost love being the underdogs. And there's some kind of advantage there. And we'll hop into how you've created brands with it. What I really want to hop into, and what I appreciate so much about you, and I think why you can connect with so many people, is you're open with your vulnerabilities. And something we haven't even really chatted a lot about, and for you to get to where you're at and to kind of stand out in certain ways from your hometown. What was your childhood like? Did you know you're going to be an athlete at a young age, or what were some of the low points?
Yeah, no. I mean, for me, it was funny because everyone would always ask, they're like, who's your favorite NFL team? Like, who did you watch growing up? I just loved the game. I just remember the first time putting a football in my hands, just running around and scoring was just so exciting to me, but I didn't really watch it on TV. I didn't later get a favorite team as the Saints until high school when I was following Reggie Bush out of USC. But yeah, for me, it was just the love of the game. But every single time I moved up, I was always faced with adversity of you can't run like that or you're too small. Always wanted to have that chip on my shoulder. And, again, getting later into Iowa, it kind of all was full circle. But, when I'm going into modified, they're like, hey, you can't run like that anymore. If you're going up to JV, I'm in JV football. I still ran like that. I had coaches that wanted to bring me up on varsity, but some of the head coach and others were like, I don't know, he can't run like that, telling me personally, you can't run like that if you want to play on varsity. So I didn't play on varsity until junior, senior year.
What are they saying running like? Are you running like too high, or like what are you?
It would be to the point. I did it in modified, I did it in JV, and I did it in varsity. Points where I would literally cross the field and run all the way around and score. And they're like, what are you doing? You can't do that. I'm like, I'm only doing it because I know I can at that point. I'm not doing it every play. But again, that was just the pure, reaction.
You're going to make a play.
So, yeah, I didn't play varsity until junior, senior year, and I still ran like that, and everything else after that was history. But it was just always, always, always coaches and people closest to me saying, I don't know, you're not big enough. I don't know, you're too small. You really think you can do that? And instead of believing those thoughts and even the things that did spiral in my head, I just believed in myself and just kept pushing. And that's how I got the opportunity I did.
I love it. And what was your upbringing like? Like, what was the size of the town? So you say you're outside of the city, right?
So right outside of the capital, Albany, but my city was Troy, where, I mean, we had a graduation class of about 250, a little under 300, a little over 1,000 kids in the school. So it was still a pretty big school, and we had a lot of high schools around. But for me, I played like I said, I grew up on 5 acres, and I almost went to this one school with a graduation class of 70, and I played Pop Warner football for the Brunswick Bulldogs, one of the few kids of color playing, but, you know, it was so fun. But then I went to the city school, and it was a lot. I mean, it was good where we had the athletes, but we also had a lot of the drama. You know, I tell some people the things that went on into my school, and they're like, wait, what? People from different schools would be like, oh, what school do you go to? Oh, Troy. They're like, oh. So it's like I dealt with that a little bit, but at the same time, you know, I did get opportunity other than the fact of recruitment. I had like D3, D2 schools coming in, looking me up and down like, sorry, you're too small. I was packing weight in my pants when I knew some coaches were coming in just because I knew that. But as soon as the D1 higher scholarships started coming in, like I remember our Iowa strength coach, Doyle, was just like, we know we can put the weight on you. We're confident in our strength staff, but we just want to see you can play. So that was just a crazy difference to me from seeing like D3. They're like, no, we need you kind of built already. We need you already ready to go. But Iowa, they're like, no, we just want to see you can play, and we know we can put the weight on you. So they saw my film, called me over the phone, and offered me a scholarship. So they never even came and visited.
Damn, so you didn't meet with anyone in person before?
Nope. No.
And that doesn't happen that often. Like a lot of the buddies, because I grew up 10 minutes outside of Iowa City, right? The friends that played there, a lot of them are, you know, they walk on, and then hopefully the goal is to get a scholarship. So to be able to get that and for them to see that, we were talking before the interview too. There was a big win yesterday against Maryland, and we didn't know. They were an undefeated team going in there. We didn't know how we were going to play. And I love that you say this, because we talk about taking 2- and 3-star athletes and making them, you know, 4 and 5s if possible. And now that it's happened for so long, and you are the epitome of going through the system, right? Yeah. But they believed in you, and that also is probably why you were a little bit more attracted to it, right? From putting, what were you doing? What kind of weights were you putting in your pockets?
Oh, well, I mean, I couldn't do
like
too much. I had to do like a 2.5, 5. If I was throwing a 10s on each side, they'd be like, all right, hold up. You don't look 225. But yeah, no, it was a big thing where, for me, I was a 1.5 star on Rivals. But I traveled. I was, again, we talked about already, vulnerable with blessing of my father being able to drive me out. But I went to camps in Ohio, massive schools, one of the only New Yorkers there, if not the only one, winning running back of the camp, winning the running back award as a 1.5 star, when these guys are like, oh, I'm a 3 or I'm a this and that. And Iowa, yeah, that's what we do. We don't get the 4 stars. We don't get the huge major names, but they develop. And if you're willing to just be a part of the program, you get to see the things. And for me, senior year, being a part of the first ever 12-0 team, you know, that's obviously a blessing.
It's unreal. And it gives me chills, because I think there's so many Hawkeye, like alumni, right? University of Iowa alumni that believes in that same system and process too, because our company is founded by University of, like, we all met at the University of Iowa, right? But we've always loved, and we feel that it's an advantage to be the underdog. And I think Iowa's always played in that too, right? We almost prefer the underdog, right? We play to the level a lot of times that we play good teams. And there's something about having a chip on your shoulder, knowing you're the underdog and you have something to prove, and that's like the Iowa mentality. I love it. Now, what separated you? You said you went to some camps. For you to be one of very few, or maybe the only one at the time, to get a D1 scholarship, like what if you were telling someone that's a freshman in high school and he's a good running back, right? Or he's a good athlete, and he's like, Jordan, you know, I'm from Troy, I'm from the same place you are, and I want to be able to achieve something like you have. What what are the 2 or 3 things you're going to tell that individual?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just great practice that I get from the kids I train. I'm already trying to instill those type of messages to them. And then we'll get into it later, but the alternative learning program school I work at with like at-risk kids, kids from really crappy backgrounds, and being able to give them, words of wisdom and some inspiration. It's just, I sacrificed. And for me, I was literally bullied and made fun of because guys would be like, dude, you could be smashing any girl you want. You're the number 1 running back in New York. You could be doing this. You could be doing that. You could be partying, da-da-da. I'm like, no, I'm trying to focus on ball because, my pops, he worked real hard, but my mom had to retire early from work when I was younger due to lupus. And, he had to put all the weight on his shoulders. So for me, I was like, I need to get a full ride. I have to get a full ride scholarship. I didn't care what they say the percentage is. I think it's like 1% of kids playing high school get one. And I didn't care. I just was full-fledged on it. And luckily, I was able to get that opportunity. And that was all chance, too. Like, a lot of people don't know. I literally tell people sometimes, like, my life's a movie, but I tell people all the time to view your life as a movie, to see yourself as that, that hero. But I had a guy who realized I had no offers, watched me in my state championship run, made a highlight of me, sent it out to schools, and it ended up on the Iowa offensive coordinator's desk. He almost didn't watch it. He's like, all right, fine, I will. As soon as he watched it, brought it in the room with everyone else, and they were like, you need to watch this. They called me over the phone. So it was like all the guys.
What were you doing when you got the call? Like, what were you doing? How old were you?
I was with my girlfriend.
So what were you doing? Like, what were you guys doing?
We were just hanging out,
on the high school parking lot. Yeah, like doing
in her room stuff. We're hanging out in her room, just watching TV, nothing.
Absolutely.
And funniest thing, Ferentz calls me and he's just like
from Iowa.
Mm-hmm. And I had no idea. I'm from New York. I had no idea where Iowa was. And he's just like, hey, this is Ferentz from Iowa. And all I remember, he's just like, so I'd like to extend an scholarship to you. And I, at that time, was verbally committed to Villanova.
Oh, shit.
Much smaller school, but I did not know the program. So I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm actually committed right now. He's like, you sure? And I was like, yeah, no, I really appreciate your call. Thank you so much. And literally have my girlfriend like, will you get off? Because she's been probably sick and tired of all the calls I was getting. And he's like, all right, well, and we'll talk soon. Because I could tell he was already just like flustered, like, wait, what? So he calls my father. My father calls me. Do you know what you... I'm like, what? He's like, you know who you're talking to? And I call him back. I'm so sorry. Like, I had no idea. Like, I would love to be able to come out. Like, I almost blew it. But luckily he was... Yeah, so luckily he was cool enough to be like, I don't know if this kid knows what he's turning down right now. So, yeah, it was really cool, but yeah, a blessing that I got to give kudos to the coach who helped me out. But yeah, crazy turn of events.
That is awesome. And for Kirk to call, and then for him to immediately call your dad. So it's probably happened at least once or twice in the past too, right? And even out here on the West Coast, no one knows where Iowa is, right? Rightfully so.
Yeah,
if you want to know,
like,
it's in the middle of the country.
They're like, oh, you're going out to Iowa, you're going to come back a farmer. When I went to Iowa, people said I talked too fast. And when I came back home, they're like, why are you talking slow now? So it was really funny to, again, see that difference. But, wouldn't change a thing.
I love it. And the humble thing that you leave out is your consistency and your drive. You saw the goal and you were like, I'm going to do it above all. And that was something I noticed when you and me first met. I know you have a relation, you have a religious, you use religion in your relationship with God to help guide. And I know you're someone that's vocal about it, and it was from the start, and it shows why your involvement, with the community and your values are aligned. Like you've stated your values and you take action aligned. And I think that is definitely how, what any quality leader needs as a foundation. There was those things that were happening behind the scenes. Like the fact that you get lucky is because of your hard work, and you're also putting yourself out there, right? Yeah. So because you're working hard, you have many fans, right? And for someone you didn't know to take video of you and then put out a highlight and then take the time to send it out, right? Like, yeah, it's luck, but I'm sure you probably had some version of an impact to them. Or, hey, we're all underdogs and we want someone from Troy to, get the visibility he wants too. There's a lot of college or high school athletes.
Big thing about that too, other than the hard work, is just the type of character. I knew right from the beginning when I had kids reaching out, messaging me, saying this and that I was on a platform that I was watched, and I could either have a negative influence, a positive, or just kind of pass by. And I'm like, I'm going to make sure that I'm a positive one. And so every interaction I had, I made sure it was good, and it's not so much like I'm doing it to get something out of it, but it leads to opportunity. I tell this to my kids that, be kind to all the people around you, because you never know when it's going to come full circle and they're going to want to help. That guy could have saw an interview of mine and be me being like a jackass and be like, oh, I don't want to help that kid out.
Yeah.
But, seeing if I was more well-spoken and doing this and that. And Iowa, big thing for me was going to the children's hospital, visiting, helping out at schools, because, kids going through stuff like that is what I'm going through is nothing compared to. So whenever I was asked to go visit, I was like, all right, bet, I'm going. Because, when you're playing, especially as you said, at Iowa, when there's no NFL team, we are that team. You get a lot of opportunities to make a difference. So, I try to take advantage of that.
I love that. And I lost my train of thought on what I was going to back that one with. No, I would love, on the community basis, what has it enabled you to where I was going to take it, because I know you and other athletes, your teammates, were able to do that. What was the culture like coming into the university, growing up on the East Coast and coming in to be on a team that goes undefeated the first time in Iowa history? And, since we've been very consistent, right?
Yeah.
Like it's been fun. What is that internal environment like? I mean, everyone around, is it supportive? Is it about growth? Can you describe that?
I would say the biggest thing with what I kind of saw from my freshman year to our senior was everybody was a lot more like close-knit of a unit. So freshman year, we had a lot of great players, a lot of great leaders, but, I'm not trying to shoot down any of my previous alumni, but I kind of felt like there was a little disconnect. Like, you were a senior, you knew you were a senior. Freshmen, they have to like work for it and earn their keep. But for us, like, even though we know you're a freshman, I felt that we were so close from top to bottom that we were a little more like upbringing, not so much like, I'm a senior, you need to listen, like kind of more so show it and prove it and have them follow. And it was just one of the hardest working groups that's been around, and just the close unit. Everyone, like I said, was cool. But to go from my sophomore year, when I tore my ACL after I was named the starter, that was another story where that motivated me. I became the fastest ACL recovery they've had. I went from medical redshirt 4-8 season to being blessed with that medical that allowed me to be on that 2015 team, and when we went 12-0 first time in school history. So just to see that development and see the growth from people around me, it's something that you just really can't describe, but it's awesome.
Could you say a few of the names of some of the teammates that you had when you were playing at Iowa that are playing in the league? Just to give people an idea of why I bring these questions up, because I'm not only fascinated, but the people you're around in these environments, these are people that we continue to watch.
Yeah. Got George Kittle with the 49ers, tight end. Micah Hyde is definitely a leader for the Buffalo Bills, their free safety. Kirksey, he's been from Cleveland to the Packers, but now he's on the Houston Texans, and he's already the leader of their defense. And guys that just come out of the woodworks too, like Anthony Hitchens, a linebacker for the Kansas City Chiefs. We also have Ben Neiman, who's starting at linebacker for them too. I think he led the league in tackles like 2 or 3 times. And it's just, you have some guys that are kind of quiet about it, but just ballers. And then even last year, I didn't play with him, he was after me, but Tristan Wirfs, as a rookie with the Bucks, luckily with Brady, but to have, I think he had 750 snaps and only let up 1 sack as a rookie. Like, we have guys that are just balling coming out, because again, we're not the crazy 5-star, 4-star dudes that wake up knowing they're good. They're the ones that develop, do the little things right, focus on the fundamentals, and it proves it.
Right? And you have Bethard in there, you have Jewel.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And the list goes on. It's just wild.
I think we got 30 active guys right now that from Iowa, and I think I played with about 20 of them.
And was that a part of why you wanted to go to Iowa? Because Alabama and Iowa are like, don't they put out more people in the NFL in the last decade or something? I don't know.
Alabama is definitely number one. I saw that Alabama could literally, out of all active players, they have 53 players. Like, they could have their own team. They could have their own team. Yeah, it's wild.
That's wild.
But we're, I think, tied 4th with 33, I think it was. So, like, that's the thing. Again, we're not the Alabama or LSU Clemsons, but we still produce. We still have every single NFL scout come to our pro days because they know Ferentz is a damn good coach, and they know that our old strength coach, Chris Doyle, he was a guy who knew everything about strength and conditioning. So, yeah, it just gives guys like that a really good opportunity to be able to be seen and get a chance in the league.
I love it, and it's so fun to be able to talk to someone that's played at this level. Like, I just can't even imagine, you know, I have these fascinations. One day I want to be able to, like, and maybe we talked about this too. Yeah. Could you imagine the feeling of having 100,000 people and being the DJ, and like everyone's jamming to your music, but you felt 70,000, if not, I mean, you've played in larger stadiums, but sold out, like being on the field. I can't even imagine the level of excitement, probably a little anxiety. That's just wild. Now we're going to flip the script. You also rap and you make music, and I like it. The body language changes, that energy comes out. Your time in Japan, is that where the rapping career started? And can you talk about when people started asking for your song in a recording and they were screaming it in the club?
Okay.
And we might even need a little, you might have to sing it.
I have to hear the chorus. Yeah, I'll hit that chorus. For me, I'd say music started when I was younger. If it wasn't for football, I would have either got into music or acting. But with my friends, we would always just make music for fun. And it wasn't until like my senior year at Iowa when, like, you know, I was kind of having a little more fun with it. I just kind of played around with the idea of like maybe I should actually record and do some official songs. But it wasn't until I was in Japan did it really start. And one of my other buddies, he's a phenomenal rapper, Sean Draper. He's way more talented than me, like rapping-wise, but I like to sing and rap. And it was funny, you know, we were just walking one day, and we rolled up in a club that literally was a full reggae night, guys smoking, dreads, everything. We were so surprised.
Where are you in Japan?
Osaka.
Okay.
And it was just so funny that we're like, yo, let's make a reggae song. Like, that would be so funny. We'll perform it at this local international bar called 1134. We were cool with the owner, found out he lived in New York for a minute, so cool connection. And what I did was I made the chorus. It was, give me your number, let's go to Namba, then we go Nampa, then we go Nampa. So Namba was this prefecture that had a lot of the international bars. And then Nampa means flirting with the intention of, you know.
Having fun.
Yeah, having fun. So it was just perfect to just give me your number. Let's go to Namba. Then we go Nampa.
And then you have an American dude saying it.
Everybody's in the crowd like, then we go Nampa. Like going nuts to the owners like, you need to send us that song. Everyone loved it. And because they listened to our music in their club. So it was just, if you would think it'd be weird, sometimes I even question if they go harder than we do. But it was so fun, so amazing. But then after that, coming back home, I performed back in Iowa City. I performed in New York. But yeah, just to have that experience and just to, you know, have an idea, have a passion, and actually go through with it too has really been cool.
I love it. We have to do stand-up together sometime.
Oh, I'm down.
It scares me a little bit, but I know I will definitely be doing it in the next 5 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, can you imagine standing on stage? Like, yeah, if you fuck up, it's like, yeah,
I
whatever.
did it one time.
Props. Seriously. Because actually
LA.
put yourself in that. Like, get on stage, crowd of people, hopefully you know a couple, even if you don't, but make them laugh.
It was for the Rose Bowl. We went to the Hollywood Improv as a team.
Oh, shit.
And 20 minutes before they started, the host just comes on and is like, we have 20 minutes if anybody's brave enough to go up. And one of my teammates, his name's Coop. Everyone knew him as the jokester. So everyone's like, Coop, Coop, Coop. Soon as he gets on stage, grabs a mic and just goes.